Hi, I'm Jamie Mikula. For this assignment, I will be discussing a school improvement recommendation. The first step in modeling my recommendation for the incoming principal I took was evaluating the current data from the subject school. This was important as before making any recommendation for implementing comprehensive school reform, CSR, the School Improvement Grant, SIG, model, or neither, it's important to understand the data makeup of the underlying school. After a thorough analysis of this school, my recommendation would be to implement the CSR model for the following reasons. First, interpreting the data, the challenges facing this particular school are systemic, cultural, and instructional versus being the result of low school performance alone. High turnover rates are evident, and the incoming new principal is Exhibit A to that point. This means that the school is ripe for and has a distinct need for stability, not rapid restructuring. To piggyback on that first point, I would explain to the new principal that the CSR model emphasizes sustained, job-embedded professional development, i.e., sustained, stable growth versus rapid change. Rowan et al., 2009, says CSR implementation requires time-intensive, long-term learning and coordinated support from external providers, school staff, and district leadership rather than quick fixes. Also, it's likely that the faculty has been through many changes here. One of the key benefits to CSR is that it promotes shared leadership and buy-in. This will be pivotal for the new principal for relationship building and trust development. Zooming out to a macro level, CSR also focuses on capacity building which, from extrapolating the data, this school clearly needs. In the same meeting with the new principal, I would explain that while the CSR model is my clear choice, it is equally as important to explain why the School Improvement Grant model is not ideal in this particular situation. While our target school certainly needs sustained, methodical improvement, the SIG model is intended for chronically failing schools that require rapid, high-stakes intervention, which can include things like staff/faculty replacement, a conversion to their school charter, external turnaround specialists, similar to the business equivalent of a receiver, or, in extreme circumstances, school closures. In our case here, Mr. Principal, this school has already experienced turnover and needs stability. This means that rapid turnover from SIG could create more issues than it solves. Replacing more staff could also worsen morale that is already likely at a low point. Also, SIG is highly compliance-driven versus cultural-driven. Our subject school needs comprehensive cultural change to improve, not a strict, compliance-driven approach. If the new principal followed the SIG approach, some key risk factors would be an already on-edge staff scrambling to hit metrics being passed down from our new principal, whom they have not had enough time to establish trust with. While this may lead to some short-term compliance, it is unlikely it would lead to the sustainable growth this school desperately needs. Lastly, after explaining why CSR versus SGI, we would need to move on to the implementation stage. It will be important to explain that CSR can be implemented in incremental, measurable steps. There is no need for shock therapy. Thinking through implementation would be: Phase 1. Establish trust with the current faculty and staff. This is critical to implementing any model, including CSR. Identify key players within the school and learn how to trust and lean into them as well. While change can come from the top, each level of stakeholders will need to buy in. Once we have buy-in, start to implement CSR in methodical, sequential steps. This will give the program time to marinate and spread throughout the school. It is also important to put into place a CSR rubric to measure success. If a certain aspect falls short of its rubric, the principal will need to dive deeper to figure out how to close the gap. Here, he would use a combination of empirical data, quantitative, and conversations with faculty/teachers/students/teachers to improve outcomes. Once we surpass a CSR rubric, the principal can then move on to the next step and follow the same process of implementation, measuring said implementation, then diving deeper if the outcomes are meeting expectations, or if they do, moving on to the next step. In conclusion, the best steps to position the new principal for success for his new post is to implement the comprehensive school reform model, explain the benefits to stakeholders to get buy-in, and then keep a close eye on results to ensure proper implementation, and that the implementation is leading to better outcomes for the school, faculty, and, most importantly, the students.